It's 16th of December. Another day Ukraine survived another missile strike inflicted by Russia. Ukraine Media Center Ukrinform continues operating. And joining us online is Vsevolod Chentsov, the representative of the mission of Ukraine to the European Union. Good afternoon, Mr. Vsevolod. Good afternoon, Mr. Vsevolod. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for rescheduling this briefing. The question is as follows. Yesterday, Reuters mentioned that the European Union agreed on the package 9 of the sanctions against Russia. How true is that? What should we expect from it? What do you know about it? Yes, this is true. And this sanctions package was agreed in a quite a complicated way. Why? First of all, because this package includes a number of blocks, the sector sanctions and targeted individual sanctions. So I will start with the individual sanctions. Those are the representatives of Russian State Duma, the private individuals, companies, and again representatives of the Russian military, the persons involved in coordination of pillage of Ukrainian grain, the representatives of Russian government, the governors of the regions, and what I would like to draw specific attention to are the 5 political parties represented in the Russian parliament, the judges of the Constitutional Court, and so on and so forth. The approach that was applied is, as I mentioned, the people involved in kidnapping of people, specifically children, involved in pillage of Ukrainian agricultural products, and people involved in Russian propaganda, and as well as representatives and the TV channels, NTV1, REN-TV, Russia 1, and Channel 1. That's about the individual sanctions. And such odious figures as Yuri Kovalchuk and the members of his family, they are on that list as well. I mean, some big public figures. As to the sector sanctions, the important components are the W's products and regular civil export products that may be used for military purposes. And in this case, our partners in the European Union, they heard our advice, something that we identified in the battlefields, the components that were supplied to Russian Federation before the 24th of February, when they found their way around the sanctions. So any such transactions will be seized. Those chemical and biochemical products, electronics, specifically that type of electronics used in Iranian drones. It also includes the companies, in 169 companies in total, that are prohibited to sell anything to, because they are involved in military industry, Russian military industry. There is also a restriction of the export of goods which can be supplied in the aviation industry, the aviation engines, and as I mentioned, this regular products, the civil unmanned aerial vehicles, GPS, radio, navigation, manufacturing machinery, modern and notebooks. That the trade turnover amounted to 2 billion euro with the trade between EU and Russian Federation. There are some banks which will be disconnected from SWIFT, the Bank of Regional Development, Far East Bank, for example. What's also important for this, there is a restriction for investments in mining industry of Russian Federation for metals, minerals, specifically titanium and nickel. And the cost and the scale of such investments was reaching 3 billion euro as of today. So those operations will be seized. Another problem with the implementation of European policies, the response was restriction for participation of European Union citizens on the management or supervisory boards of Russian companies, specifically in energy and transport industry. So this restriction will work both ways. Why this package was agreed in a difficult manner? Because some member states, they proposed certain exemptions for agricultural sector, for the needs of so-called global south, and there were proposals to exempt some companies which are already sanctioned and or the persons which are on the sanction list to facilitate such operations. However, the group of companies, and we supported that position, took a very hard stance against some broad exemptions, and the compromise was found that each such transaction will be agreed on an individual case-by-case basis by the member states to exclude any abuse, and such operations will be reported to all the member states of the European Union, to European Commission. Thus, we will mitigate the threat of abuse of such options. In fact, what Russian propaganda was trying to use as the way around the sanctions, like the need to ensure the food security for the third countries. So we were able to avoid this threat. So today, on one hand, nobody, neither European Union nor Ukraine, can be blamed for complication of the supply of food to those in need. And on the other hand, Russian oligarchs and companies, they are unable to receive more options for trade with either Ukraine or European Union or the third countries. So this is the brief description of this sanction package. Thanks a lot. It was interesting. It was interesting to hear about the supervisory boards, which became the participation in supervisory boards, which became the instrument of influence. So my question is, you were talking about the collegial decisions. We know about allocation of 18 billion euro of macroeconomical support next year, and we know that that resolution was discussed in a very vivid manner. What lessons should we learn as Ukraine from that, and what lessons should European Union learn from this now that they face such discussions inside? Thank you for your question. It was very important resolution to allocate 18 billion euro of macroeconomic support for Ukraine. The lessons to be learned are, for us, we were able, together with our partners and European Commission, we were able to ensure ourselves, so to say, for, say, A option. Those are guarantees of that macroeconomic support at cost of European Union. They were unable to be approved. There was a threat from Hungary, so we agreed on option B, that the operations of the within this macroeconomic support framework were inspected by European Union based on special agreements. So we had two options, and this is the case when we were able to mitigate the risks when Hungary also understood that blocking of option A would not end in anything, and that allowed us also, and also the European Commission and the member states, to agree on a constructive resolution on allocation of support to Hungary as well. So based on anti-corruption reforms, as you see here, we also mentioned the European Union member states. So we were able to reach this agreement on the financial support for both Ukraine and Hungary, and we agreed on the joint corporate tax. Please, questions in the studio. Nadia Yurchenko, Ukrinform. At the initial stage of discussion of this package, Dmytro Kuleba asked Josep Borrell to include sanctions against Russian missile program. Was it the subject to discussion in European Union, and was there reaction from Mr. Josep Borrell, even in view of today's missile strike? That's a very important question. Yes, sure, this question, the work on this issue is in progress. We work with the member states and the European foreign affairs agencies. I mentioned already the Iranian drones, which are part of the program, which are part of the attacks on the infrastructure of Ukraine, including with the help of Iranian weapons. Yes, in this package, there is already mentioning of it, and we work on other elements which will be approved within the next steps, within the next packages of sanctions of European Union. This package is not the last one, but the development and work on it requires certain time and effort. Thank you very much. Joining us was Vsevolod Chentsov, the representative of the mission of Ukraine to the European Union. We were talking about the sanction package 9, and we were talking about the support to Ukraine. And our next briefing is at 14 o'clock. We will be talking with Ms. Galina Lukova, the military governor of Kherson. We will be talking about the situation in the region. Thank you. See you shortly.